Yeah, good evening, team, and apologies we've delayed, but we are now ready. And therefore, I just want to get some confirmations on if we are here and you can hear me. Um, Register your attendance by saying hi, then we can be able to pick up before I bring on stage the speaker of the day. So register your presence by mentioning hi on the comments, then we can be able to pick up. Yeah, good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. Just make a comment that you can be able to see me, then we can be able to kick off. So leave a comment indicating that that's good, Tekla. Thank you so much for being there. Who else is there? Confirm. Confirm who is there. Tekla, you are able to see the screen. Confirm so that then I can be able to bring Mayuri to stage. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I need one more comment. Confirm that, yeah, that's good. Tekla, thank you. Thank you so much for that. So for me, this is a very important session that I will not want to miss for anything. Georgina, thank you so much for coming through. I hope uh, you will invite us. I still insist that we need to be invited to Taita for holiday. And therefore, thank you, seeing you here. Tommy, thank you for coming through. I was saying that the session today for me is one of the best. I will, even if I were to be alone, I will still carry on so that I learn from Mayuri. Mayuri is an amazing young person who loves what she does, and she is dedicated in what she does. Whenever she gets hold of a task, be sure that it will be done to the best of her ability. And therefore, I know she has prepared to share knowledge. I love her presentations. Anytime she works on a presentation, it's something you really want to be part of. And therefore, like I mentioned earlier on, I had an opportunity to work with Mayuri when she came in as an intern, and she helped me work on the onboarding slides. So, like I mentioned, she really compressed 40 years of experience into a few slides, something that you can easily now walk in um, an employee very easily without any challenge. And therefore, I have all the confidence that when she speaks about branding yourself through proper presentation, through proper reporting, she's actually speaking to what she loves doing. The reason why I thought that it's important we listen to her and we really hone our skills around presentation is because HR professionals have an opportunity to prepare reports and present to senior managers, either on monthly basis or whenever you are seeking approval for anything. And therefore, the question is, how do you package that in such a manner that as people consume it, it's easy to get approvals. People remain engaged throughout the entire presentation. It's not just a boring kind of slides being presented, but it's something that you want to really be part of. You want to really buy in even before you are told exactly what you are actually being sold. And therefore, without wasting time, I know we've eaten into your time. I just want to welcome Mayuri. Mayuri has just graduated from Sydney, and she's someone who is destined for greatness. I can see her going in for a master's and rising through the ranks. And therefore, without wasting time, let me welcome Mayuri on stage. Mayuri is currently the assistant strategy coordinator at Pwani Oil. And therefore, that fresh fry that you get, Mayuri is responsible for ensuring that it is with you. It is still of high quality in the next 10 years to come. So she looks at 5, 10 years from now. Mayuri, welcome. The stage is yours, and we are here to engage you. I want to encourage my colleagues to keep on sharing their comments so that we can follow any questions, so that we can be able to follow. Mayuri, please feel free and welcome on stage.
Thank you so much. Oh my god, you're so kind, please. No, guys, he's hyping me up, but it's so amazing that you have all joined in, and I'm really grateful for this opportunity. Thank you so much for having me here, and I hope that we can have a really amazing session where we all learn from each other. Which brings me to I would love it if you guys engage through the chats and let me know any questions that you have or just pitch in anything. And feel free to have the stage as your own as well. So maybe we can get started with the presentation now.
Sure, let me have it on just one second. So you will feel free to let me know when you want me to move the slides.
Sure, sounds great. So, hi everyone. Today we're going to be talking about personal branding. So, Mr. Greg, is there a way to have the slide visible? Okay, perfect. There it is. Yes. All right. Welcome to this presentation on personal branding. So today we're going to learn about what personal branding is, and if you could move to the next slide, please. Yes. And look at the significance of personal branding, because it doesn't matter if I come here and tell you that, oh, personal branding is 1, 2, 3, 4, but then we don't know why we need it, right? And then we look at how to create a personal brand and what are presentations as a part of personal brands. What is their importance, how to go about them, and basically a presentation crash course to help us through understanding how to go about a presentation throughout the different kinds of presentations that exist. Of course, we end off with a Q&A and a chance to interact. So let's get started. Next slide, please. What is personal branding? Long story short, it's defining and promoting what you stand for as an individual. Tell everyone who you are, what your experiences are, what are some of your skills, your values, what is something that differentiates you, what makes you you. So by taking charge of your personal brand, you can determine what people think and feel when they interact with you. Of course, everyone's going to have a perspective of what they think of you when they first meet you or meet you like 1,000 times over. And although they say that first impression is the last impression, there are chances that you can change that first impression. But what's important is that you maintain that first impression of being good throughout the many times that people are going to meet you. And personal branding is the way to do just that. Making sure that everyone knows who you are, what you stand for, and what you bring to the table. Next slide, please. Why is it important? Number one, attracting customers and clients. Now, this doesn't have to be just about sales or attracting a different client. It can even be as an HR person, you're attracting different opportunities towards yourself. You're attracting the employees towards your proposals and what you're bringing for them. It helps you build credibility. It increases your visibility and recognition. Tomorrow you go to a conference, your personal brand is strong. You know that there are many, many opportunities coming your way. And of course, you're standing out from the crowd. You don't want to be the person that is just like every other person. You want to be someone who is easily identifiable in a pack of the same old people, all right? And that's the significance of personal branding. Next slide, please. Now we come to the question of how to create a personal brand, because just knowing that it's important isn't enough. Number one, having a unique story. What is something that differentiates you? What are your personal experiences? Why are these important? because a unique story is what makes you different and what helps people remember you, connect with you, and relate with you. So, share something about what has led you to be where you are today and who you are today. Number two, skills. Link the expertise that you have and the goals that you have and hope to achieve and be relevant. This is who I am, this is why I am who I am, and this is who I want to be, right? Simple. Number three, values. Really, really important. What do you stand for? Is it integrity? Is it communication? Is it discipline? Hard work? What is it? Make sure that you have it set up and you live what you are saying that you value. What can others expect when they interact with you? Are they going to expect someone who is going to respect them throughout? Live it. If your value is that, oh, you know what, I'm a person who values discipline, show it through your actions and live it. Design. The color scheme, your logos, fonts, create a visual brand. What does this mean? You would have an Instagram page, you would have a LinkedIn page, you would have a YouTube channel, a personal blog. Make sure it's all linked. When we think of brand, for example, let's go with something everyone knows, Nike, right? If you think about Nike, what would you expect? You would expect the same exact vibe and feeling and customer service regardless of which outlet or online platform that you visit, right? And that's your personal brand. Make sure you're consistent throughout, whether it's meeting people in person or having someone meet you through social media. Lastly, statement, something catchy. What do you do and how can you help? Simple, right? Let's now take a look at an example. Next slide, please. So here's a quick look at my personal brand. Now it's supposed to be an easy, memorable, all-encompassing, but you have to build towards it. So here's something that we call a base to get you started. This is where you just point out what are some of the things that I want people to know about me. And then you add in all your extra jazz to it. Yes. Number one, multicultural experiences. I want people to know that I've had multicultural experiences in my life. I've visited different countries, I've visited places that have helped me meet different kinds of people and have a broader sense of self. Number two, 4 internships across 3 roles. I want people to know that I do have some work experience and that it's been in varied roles so that they can know that I do have some experience in different kinds of things. So you would expect someone who is possibly multi talented in scope, right? Number three, what are my top 3 values? Discipline, respect, dedication. And now it's up to me that I tell people these are my values and make sure that even without telling, they realize that they're my values. How? By living it. Discipline, come to work every day, finish all the tasks. Respect, be respectful of every person that I meet, be respectful of myself, how I carry myself, right? What are my goals? Get my master's degree by 2026 and have a management position by 2029. Now, these, if you go to see, are pretty basic, right? This is something that you would just sit down and jot down. This is basically it. This is your base. Now, this is where you begin adding in all the different values that you have, adding in your stories, and just making everything centered around this, but then in a more extravagant way. Perfect. Next slide, please. Now we get to the main bit, presentations as part of personal branding. How you present is how people view you. So you want to be interactive, you want to be engaging, confident, personalized, because how you present yourself, not just everywhere else, but when you're presenting as well, what your slide deck looks like, what your speech sounds like, how you are talking when you're speaking. For example, if it's a one-on-one conversation or a in-person presentation, are you making eye contact? Are you just staring at your script? Are you just reading it off? Are you giving examples? These are all ways that people perceive how you are as a person. If you are someone who's constantly looking down when they're speaking, is completely reading off the slides, there are high chances that the next time someone is thinking about you, they're going to think that you're not a confident person or that you don't really feel like engagement is a big deal. And when it comes to HR, engagement is, of course, something that is very important. So you don't want to be giving off that kind of a perspective, right? So that's why presentations are very important. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Mr. Greg, thank you. So, what are some key items of a presentation? But first, here's one thing to remember: your preferences are not exactly what matter when you're presenting. It's about your audience's preferences. If you like the color red and you want your color scheme to be red throughout the presentation, but you know for a fact that the audience would want something in the yellow scheme because maybe you're presenting for a company and that company has yellow as one of its colors, right? That's their branding and they would prefer something like that. Then you should understand and be open to not using red and instead going with yellow. That's the basicest of examples that I could give you. So now let's get into the other key items. Number one, ask away. Feel free to ask as many questions as you want. Find out exactly what your audience is looking for: color, tone, content, the presentation. Make sure you ask. I know it can be scary, especially if you're making a presentation for a senior person or someone in a higher rank than you. It can be very scary, and you might think that they're not open to questions. But make sure that you are a person who asks regardless of anything. Because, number one, it's going to save time, your time, their time. Because if you don't understand exactly what's required of you from a presentation, you're going to have to keep going back for making changes all the time. Not very productive, right? Number two, it's going to help you be a better version of yourself and a better brand person for yourself, because you're going to come off as a person who delivers exactly as expected. Trust me when I say Mr. Greg has had his experience of me asking like 20 minutes worth of questions. Exaggeration, but you get my point, right? Number two, map it out. Don't just start off, although it can be a great way some of the times when you're lacking inspiration to just start and see where things go. But mapping out is a really great and productive way. Try to visualize how it's going to look. This color would be acceptable, or this level of formality is what I'm going for. The content will be placed in this way. I'm thinking mind maps, I'm thinking graphs and charts, right? Try to map it out. Begin. It might not be exactly how you visualize at the end of it, but I'm sure that you'll get somewhere that you're happy with your presentation. Number three, take your time, especially when you're just starting out. Sieve through the different templates that they are, find the best ones, change midway through. Take your time to personalize that template or that presentation to the needs of your audience. Yes, you might have time constraints, but within the time constraint, try not to rush things. Just take it easy, take it slow, and make the best of it. Number four, be open to criticisms. Ask for constant feedback. Be open to changes. Never think that just because this person is telling me to change the way I've arranged things, I'm doing something wrong. It might not be the wrong thing. It might just be that the audience's perspective is different from yours. Be open to it. Make as many changes as needed to get the desired version of your presentation. Number five, and the biggest, most important thing: presentations do not have to be boring, regardless of the level of formality. Take risks, add elements, and don't be afraid to be bold. Of course, the level of how bold you want to be depends on the kind of presentation and the context of the presentation, but never assume that just because it's a presentation, it has to be boring and very formal and very serious. Okay? Next slide, please. What does this mean? Let's look at the different types of presentations. Number one, what we usually find ourselves doing: formal presentations. For formal presentations, it's best to stick to the solids, little to less, no transitions basically, no bird flapping through and revealing the next slide, or no waviness going on, minimal color vibrancy. But of course, this does not mean that it should be boring, as I've stated. spice it up with crafts, classy color combinations, layouts, and let's take a look at an example just to help you get started. Next slide, please. This would essentially be your opening slide, business proposal. You can have like a little subtitle there, letting people know what this slide could be, and a company logo if it's an external one, or if you have a motto, then that logo would be there for an internal presentation. Next slide. Then the content. What is it about? What are we going to highlight? Make sure that it's very simply set out so that it's easy to read regardless of whether it's a boardroom meeting presentation or it's a presentation that's going to be shown for, let's say, 100 people. Okay? Next slide, please. About us. What is this about? Maybe this can be about this particular slide or this particular project that you're presenting about. Just jot down, let people get an idea, contextualize it. Next slide, please. What are the objectives? What are some of the things that you are going to be talking about during this presentation? What is it that you hope to achieve by the end of it? Look at the color scheme. Plain, simple, but then your text is standing out. There are a few icons going on just to give a little bit of a jazz pizzazz to it. Next slide, please. Concept in business could be something just talking about that project, look at the way the numbers are set, something that's adding more infographics to it just to add a few elements without getting too overboard. Next slide, please. Now, these are some of the way you can go about it, having a graph, a chart, you can have your pie charts, or different kinds of funnels and everything, just to have different ways of presenting data without it being boring or very statistical. Next slide, please. Now let's look at a semi-formal presentation. So here you want to stay focused on your formal side. So not too many colors, but you can add elements to add informality to it. These can be figures, aesthetics, some carefully chosen colors, etc. But make sure that you're not going overboard and you find that really thin balance to get you going. This slide deck would be an example of that. Next slide, please. So, I'm sorry, there should be one more slide. I'm sorry, could we go back? Yes. Informal presentations. This may be in your corporate life or career, you might not do as many, but informal presentations can be amazing just to share with your colleagues or just as your employee communication methods. Let yourself be free in this one. Time to let your creative juices flow. Think colors, images, emoticons, figurines, figures, transitions, and whatever that you desire to do. But make sure that you're not going overboard so that it's not overbearing or people think of it as too shabby or childish. Let's take an example. Next slide, please. So this is one of the things. You have your title out there. You have different colors to make sure that people are engaged with it. You have emoticons. You have all these little figurines, but they're all connected to what's being said. So you're not being irrelevant. You're not adding a random heart somewhere. You're not adding a rainbow, but instead you're figuring out how to use all of these items to create something that is encompassing of what you're trying to say. So that even if someone is not being able to focus on what's written, they have a way of understanding what's being said. Next slide, please. We're looking at ways to have people get engaged with what you're doing. This is about colors. This is about looking at what can people think when they're looking at it. Now, if you just have a random look at this slide, what are you looking at? You can see that that title is right out there, right? It's right in your face, so people are very clear about what's going on. If you feel like, oh, I've been so stressed, I don't have time to look at another infographic that's coming my way, you can look at the icons and be like, oh, this is about goal setting, this is about action plans, this is about what's going on, how to measure your performance, what are their goals. So basically, you want to make things easy and simple to convey and understand, but at the same time, you don't want to go overboard with it either. Next slide, please. Yes, Mr. Gray, please go on.
Yeah, so just a comment so that I don't lose out on this. Remember, we're talking about presentation, and it's not purely the reports that we do, but in HR, we're in a place where we need to sell the HR policies, the HR processes. So you can still make use of your presentation skills to ensure you reach out to the audience. And what you are seeing here is exactly what Mayuri has been able to work on, some of the communications that we wish to engage our staff in. So it's not necessarily just looking at the normal presentations you'll make in a meeting, but it's how do you also package your HR products to your consumers who are your employees. And what makes me happy with this is the way she plays around with whatever the people who developed the PPT, Canva, the tools they provided. So use of the cartoons, use of infographics, just to communicate and to make sure that it's no longer boring, but it's something that you want to resonate with. Carry on, Mayu.
Thank you for that, Mr. Greg. Next slide, please. One before, please. Yes, thank you. So here's a bonus for you. Now, you're going to have to bring forth your proposals, right? And this could be either to someone in the senior management or to your employees. Now, the level of formality is based on your audience, but you have to make sure, regardless of what it is, a proposal should have some details in place that are very crucial. This is about what the topic is. What is the proposal regarding? Why is your whatever that you're proposing necessary? What is it that you're proposing? What are the details? What can we expect when we think about your proposal? What are the financial implications of what you're proposing? And what are the next steps? And other things that relate to everything that a proposal requires. Just proposing is not enough. Telling people and selling it is really, really important. And biggest thing is present it with confidence. Make sure that they know that what you're presenting is what you believe in. What you know is going to bring success towards the company or whatever it is that you're proposing towards. Let's take a look at an example. Next slide, please. This is a employee gamification proposal that you could present. So here we have a really simple way of presenting what we are trying to propose. Having the title in bold so that everyone knows exactly what we're going to be talking about. Next slide, please. Now you can see just by looking at it that this is a semi-formal presentation moving towards informality. This is because this was not towards like a senior management, but instead an internal basis. So you're going to have your introduction. What is it? Like, for example, this one is about gamification. So you need your audience to understand what gamification is before you start proposing your aspect of how you can add gamification to whatever it is that you want to add it to. Make sense? Next slide. Now you need to help them understand why gamification is important. Why is it that, for example, if you want to change an SOP and you're proposing for that, why is it that it needs to be changed? What is the value add from whatever it is that you're proposing? Next slide, please. Where is it that you hope for it to be used? What are some of the different ways that you're adding value to your organization? Where are these particular aspects that you feel are pain points that you are addressing by proposing this gamification method of doing things? Next slide, please. Of course, no proposal is complete without showing what the stats have. What are you basing your proposal based off? Are you looking at survey responses? Have you done your own internal questionnaires? Have you done interviews? Or is it based off some random TV show that you watched? That's really important. Make sure you know where your stats are coming from. What is the data evidentiary that you're providing to help you back up what you're proposing? Next slide, please. So this is something that you could do. What is the smaller scale version of it? Here is what we can do on a really small scale. This is something internal. Here is a few infographics to get you started. And then next slide, please. You could go on to talk about what a whole aspect would be, what the company-wide initiative could be. Here is what we're getting inspiration from. Here is what the main things are that we're picking from this inspiration. Next slide, please. This is what we're proposing. Here are the main points that we hope to get across through this proposal of gamification. Next slide, please. Here's the primary set, here's the secondary set. So essentially what you want is to make sure that your proposal lines out every single thing that you hope to achieve. You want to make sure that you are perspective of what potential questions could arise. What could be something that the person you're presenting to or the people that you're presenting to could have doubts about? Is it that through this entire list of tasks that you've put, what are the important ones? What are things that we could possibly do over time? So you want to make sure that you have everything lined out and make sure that it's all set towards someone. So don't think that, oh, you know what, this person would have a prior knowledge of something. No. Think of it as you're explaining to someone who has absolutely no idea about anything. They've never heard of the term gamification, for example. They've never even thought of it in this concept. What you're thinking is completely new, and that's what you want to tell people, right? Next slide, please. Now you want to talk about what your first steps are. Is it getting the IT approval? Is it looking for actual employee interest? Is it that you want to get feedback? What is it that you'll do first? And how will you get this project off from just being a proposal to actually being something that could be implemented? Next slide, please. And a quick thank you to let them know that you appreciate their time, and the fact that they have actually listened to you throughout. Next slide, please. So what are some tools for presentations that you could use? So the one that I've made right now is through Canva. It's helping you to be creative. There are loads of templates that you could use, and depending on the type of Canva that you have, you could share it as a PDF, you could share it as a PPT, you could online stream it. And of course, there's Microsoft PPT, which we all know, and we know that it's amazing for highly formal presentations. And they do have content designing ideas now. It can be easily shareable because everyone has access to it, and it can be created offline. The amazing thing about PPT is that now it has progressed quite a bit. It gives you designing ideas. It has loads of various templates that not only relate to being formal anymore, but you could also do loads of creative offline presentations that are completely informal as well. But of course, these aren't the only tools. There are numerous others that you can explore, and of course, you go online, you're going to find a bunch more. There's Mentimeter, there's Poster My Wall, there's SnapUp. There are limitless tools available for you to go and explore and find the best one that fits your needs and your level of UI UX requirements. Next slide, please. And that brings us to the end of our presentation. Thank you so much for your valuable time. I'm so sorry we got late at the beginning. And please let me know of any questions that you may have. And thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mayuri. Thank you so much for your time, and I know putting this together is not easy, but you've been able to just really put together a whole conversation around presentation and even personal branding. One thing you mentioned toward the end, which I've really picked as a learning, is on the flow being critical in terms of when you're making a presentation. So just making sure that there is a flow, you're covering everything step by step. You are not assuming that those you're presenting to know what you are presenting, but then making sure you provide all the information. You've also spoken about the resources available online, which I agree with you. We work with our phones, we work with our laptops, but we rarely exploit what is available online, and therefore the need for us to really tap in. I personally use Post on my wall and I enjoy it, but then I've never explored what they have in terms of slides. So a good challenge. You've always challenged me to use Canva, something that I also want to take time and learn. I believe in the next session, maybe you will just walk the team through how to leverage on Canva. Or I don't know if it will actually be very critical if you can, at a very high level, just to walk us through how you go through Canva at a very high level, maybe 5 minutes as we prepare to take in questions, then we can end the session. I don't know if you're ready to do that.
Yeah, sure, of course. I would be happy to.
Okay, I think the only challenge you'll have is try click on the present, see if you can now be able to get it.
Yes, let me try that.
And for questions, keep them coming so that then immediately we are done, we can be able to pick them in. Winnie, thank you for your question. We'll be responding to it shortly.
It's not allowing me to share actually.
Okay, that's fine. So we may not be able to. I really have wished that she's dropped off. I really would have wished Mayuri covers that, because Canva is proving to be a very, very good tool to prepare presentations, and you can actually make use of it, enjoy using it. As she takes on Winnie's question, uh, there is a definition she talked about when she was kicking off in terms of what a brand is all about, and she spoke about what you stand for, who you are, what you bring to the table, which was quite something. Then she spoke about her personal brand, and to be frank, she spoke about multicultural. Mayuri is someone that engages across with everyone, regardless of where they come from. That I can actually attest to. She talked about her top three values. That is discipline, respect, dedication, and that is something that I can vouch for. She spoke about her future goals, and I can completely say yes. I know she stands for that, and therefore, just to encourage us. She's spoken about something that you're actually working on around your career. So you can see, whilst you're working on your career path or your career plan, you can actually decide to brand yourself for what you stand for, what your values are, and what you bring to the table, such that even as you go in for a conversation around an interview, it becomes easy because you can actually sell yourself. And therefore, let me pick the questions. Mayuri, you can be able to respond to them.
Sure.
Winnie is asking, is an application or AI that can be used to enhance the presentation in terms of creativity to make the slides reader friendly and eye catching. So I think she's trying to look at what exactly should you use to make them eye catching. Please, Mayuri, please.
Right. So when it comes to making it eye-catching, number one is of course the application would be, for example, I talked about Canva. So Canva is where you can get templates. So essentially what it is that you have a base where you're starting off, and then you can add your own methods and means to it and customize it as per your audience's needs. Now, when it comes to AI, of course, there are quite a few AI tools that help you get into creative presentations. So, for example, I think one that we all know about is ChatGPT. They've come out with a latest version which helps you create like really creative, innovative presentations as well. So, in that sense, there are many ways that you can use AI and internet and all this technology to help you get creative. And the other thing is, of course, working on it yourself, which is really advisable so that you're not really focused on or being reliant on some technology to help you become creative. So it's really great that you seek out different ways of, oh, how is this person presenting? What are some of the elements that they've added in theirs? Or trying to just try things out. Like, don't ever be afraid of, oh, I don't know whether pink and green would go for it. Just try it out. A circle and a square together sounds really insane. No, it doesn't. Just try it out. Maybe instead of fitting it horizontally, it's working out vertically well. So just test things out and it'll all work out, I'm sure. Just keep on getting the practice of working throughout your presentation, and I'm sure that it'll get better as you keep moving towards it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that. And there is a question from Gay. Gay, I will take that, and then Mayuri can also add in. So he's asking, where does personal branding come in the case of interviews? Yeah. So remember what he said initially. Uh, when you go for an interview, let's look at it from this perspective. When you go for an interview, you're actually a brand and you want to sell yourself. So the question is, if I just take what Mayuri walked us through, the question is, what do you stand for? Who are you? What do you bring to the table? So you can just imagine. Those are the questions you are trying to appeal to the panel on, and therefore it becomes critical. Whilst you may not necessarily make a presentation, but understanding how you arrange your thoughts and how you sell yourself. So it's equally the same thing, how you package yourself. And it doesn't hurt also to arm yourself with a presentation, two, three slides, and talk about yourself. It doesn't hurt. You're just being unique. That's what you were told. You be unique. You tell your story. You share your statement. I don't know what, Mayuri, what do you, what are your comments on that?
No, I believe what you said is exactly right. And like how you put it forward as well was perfect, because essentially, when it comes to interviews, what you want to do is, as I had mentioned, you want to stand out from the crowd. You want to be memorable. Personal branding is how you're presenting yourself, how you're shaping people's opinions of you. And in an interview position, essentially what you want to do is make sure that you shape your perspective in their mind of the interviewers, to be positive, to be different, to be unique, to be someone that isn't like everyone else. Right. And when it comes to having a portfolio, for example, as Mr. Greg mentioned, that's really an amazing thing. Like, for example, I did have a interview before, although this wasn't an HR based, it was in the social media. Having a portfolio of things that you've done, who you are, just maybe two, three slides, and you could possibly print it out onto a paper and show it to them when you reach, is such an amazing way to show them not just that you're dedicated towards this role, because now you've actually put an effort of creating that slide presentation. You're also creative and you're looking for ways to stand out from the crowd. So you know that they can expect that you're going to go above and beyond in whatever that you do. It's really going to help you stand out for sure.
Yeah, thank you so much. I like what you've said in terms of shaping opinion of the panel. Very, very key. A portfolio of things you have done, very, very important. And Gay, let me just challenge you. Whilst we are talking about presentation, look at it from this perspective where it's not just that. you might go in and share what you've done in a presentation, but again, branding yourself on your social media, on the things you've been able to do. So you can do that very well through some of the things Mayuri has walked us through, the infographics, putting in photos, but really demonstrating what you've done. Then again, another challenge is she's talked about standing out from the crowd. What about going in and when they are just about to ask you to walk them through who you are, you say, "Do you mind if I walk you through who I am through these slides?" And you kick off by, I mean, showing amazing work that you've done, who you are. Uh, and you spend some 10, 15 minutes explaining who you are as you shape the opinions of those who are listening to you, as you make yourself different from the five, four people who went ahead of you. Look at it from this way, from this side again. If I'm listening to you and I can see your slides, how beautiful they are. Remember, you are shaping my opinion. We are saying, wow, this is the kind of a person we would want to have in our organization. And therefore, it still becomes, we looked at it from the perspective of you preparing presentations to present to managers or to the stakeholders. But now we are even now expanding this to mean that you can use it to sell your personal brand. Mayuri will take the last question from Nasra. Nasra, thanks
Yes.
for joining in. She's saying personal branding versus personality traits. Is it advisable to brand yourself out of your personality traits or within? I've read
So
it
what I
quite.
would,
Mhm.
sorry?
I read it quite fast. I hope you got it.
No, that's okay. I got it. Yes.
Right.
So what I would say is they go hand in hand. When you're thinking personality traits, it's essentially about what you stand for, right? And when we're thinking of personal branding, it's showing people what you stand for. So personality traits are essentially what everyone thinks of you in the sense of how you present yourself, and that's what branding is. So you want to brand yourself in line with your personality traits. If your personality trait isn't all about, let's say, being on time, then something like punctuality would not be your personal brand. So you wouldn't want to clash something that you have a personality trait of to be your personal brand. So this is something that goes hand in hand. So when you're shaping your personal brand, you want to make sure that you're living what you're saying. So you want to make sure that your personality traits are aligned with what you're making people perceive of you. I don't know if that answers the question properly. If you'd like to add in something, Mr. Gray.
Not at all. I think you've gotten it much better than I would have done. And I just want to say thank you so much, Mayuri, for covering this very well. The only justice I want you to do is if you can prepare some time and just walk us through how you play with Canva and develop slides so that then the team can actually now be able to put it into practice. So if your schedule allows, we can work on a date where it will now just be practical so that we go through it. And then the only assignment I would wish that the team does is once they have gone through your lesson, is now to just work on a 5 or maximum 10 slides about who they are. So more of their own portfolio. We will do it, all of us. I will also do it. And Mayuri, unfortunately, you are unlucky because for this one, you will mark them yourself.
Oh,
So yeah, so uh, I think I don't know what we will do, but you will confirm your availability, then we can do it so that we don't go beyond next week, uh, such that they are able to benefit from the final part of the session. So
sure.
maybe I welcome you to make your final remarks, then we will end here.
Sure, sounds great. Thank you so much, everyone, for all the time that you've spent with me. A great, good 49 minutes that we've spent together. And thank you all for your questions. And it feels really amazing to know that you were listening and that you had some questions that you felt comfortable enough to share on this platform. And thank you, Mr. Greg, for giving me this opportunity because honestly, this is a really great deal. And for sure, this has been a great learning experience for me as well. And I would love to, of course, join you guys again for the Canva session. And I'll make sure to figure out how to share my screen till then. And yes, this has been amazing. Thank you so much, everyone, and hope to see you soon. I'm sure you're going to do amazing with your personal brands. Looking forward to it.
Thank you, Mayuri, and we will work together on that. If it doesn't work, then we will look at other facilities to make use of. However, to everyone who was in attendance, thank you so much for coming in. We apologize we were late, but then sincere appreciation for joining in. Questions, feel free to continue leaving them on the WhatsApp group. Let's engage. Let's put this into practice. I wish you the very best. Please make sure you take care of yourself tomorrow, the days to come. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thank you. See you. Take